Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Real Anointed Needed Talk. I'm so glad you're able to join us again today. The month of February has been our mental health uh, month, and we've been talking about ministering to those in mental illness and how to help those suffering in mental illness. Our platform is Real Anointed Needed Talk, also known as R.AN.T for Life. Our platform theme on this month have been Be Real, Stop Lying. It ain't easy. And we've had four phenomenal, qualified, and distinguished guests on throughout the month, the end of January, which was January 27th and the 28th. And also on February 3rd, we had our distinguished guests. The guests were Reverend Demetria Cason Combs, Reverend Angela French Coles, and on yesterday, on the 3rd, we had Reverend Dr. LaShonda Fletcher. And I want to introduce on today, I am so excited to have my first cousin, the Reverend Dr. Sharon Davis, Ellis-Davis, Reverend Dr. Sharon Ellis-Davis. And I want you to welcome her to our platform, Real Anointed Needed Talk. Be real, stop lying. It is not easy. Holly, welcome to our platform on today. Reverend, you hear me? Can you hear me, Reverend? She's frozen. I don't know. We've been having trouble with our broadcast lately, and I do not know why. Uh, I can see her on here. Let me remove her. Then I'll bring her back in and see if that helps. Bring her in. I can see her, but I cannot see her on the stream. But we're going to give it a little time. I'm going to text her to see if she can come back in. See if she can reconnect with us. But we're excited to have her here with us. She is a reverend with many hats. And I want to introduce to her right now while we're getting
Here.
Are you here? Oh, great. Thank you. I knew we've been having technical difficulties for the last two podcasts, and I'm trying to figure out why. But we're not going to let the enemy stop us because we know this is a very important topic that we have taken on during the month of January and February. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? I don't know if she can hear me or not. Let me see if I put her on here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me now? I'm not knowing whether she can or not.
I can hear you. It just in and out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we having connection problems, but we're going to go on and go forth anyway. If you would allow me, I'd like to introduce you to our podcast audience, Reverend Dr. Sharon Ellis-Davis. She's an affiliate professor at McCormick Theological Seminary, a trainer at Faith Trust Institute, pastor emeritus at God Can Ministry, UCC, United Church of Christ. Also, she's a retired Chicago Police Department chaplain, works at visiting assistant professor. She's a visiting assistant professor of pastoral leadership and ethics. She studied at Chicago State University, also at McCormick Theological Seminary, and I said Chicago Theological Seminary and Chicago State University. She went to Harlem Community Academy High School, and also she is a visiting professor at LTS, Louisville Theological Seminary in Kentucky. She's from Chicago, Illinois. And as I stated before, she is my first cousin. And I am so proud of the work that she has been doing. It takes her, she's traveling all over this United States, teaching and spreading the word. She also is an author of The Trauma of Sexual and Domestic Violence, subtitled Navigating My Way Through Individual, Religious, Policing, and the Court. And it says that the book provides hope for survivors, pastoral wisdom for seminarians, cultural sensitivity for service providers, and is useful as a guide for faith based study groups. So we applaud you in all your endeavors. The Lord has really blessed you, and you know you is a blessing to many people. I know you are a blessing to me. Hallelujah. As I keep trying to keep up with you in all that you are doing, and while you're empowering people and inspiring them. So if I can call you Sharon on this podcast, um, I would, as I take you in as a leeway into what you're talking about today, it's stated that when you have depression, every thought and every breath, every conscious moment hurts. And yet, Christian faith has a word of real hope, especially for those who are suffering mentally. But as we talked about on some of the other podcasts, it says sometimes even though we're Christians, we are speaking to the Christians, we're speaking to non Christians, we're speaking to society as a whole. And this being Black History Month, we have been really focused on the Black community and the effects of mental health and mental illness on the Black community. So, if I will just give you the floor right now, and you can just start wherever you want to start, and we'll just pose the questions to you as they come in. Can you hear me? I don't know what
Thank
is.
you. Can you hear me all the way?
I can hear you now. I'm gonna let me see. How can I do this?
I am talking until you tell me you can hear me.
Okay, keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, can quote the preamble to the Constitution that I learned when I was in elementary school. It wasn't middle school in the day. Very pleased to be here, and I hope we get a chance to
Yeah.
and hopefully they will also garner some fruitful conversation. And should I begin?
Yes. 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 You may begin.
If I should begin,
I
to
know
be,
we're having a
I can
connection. We're
begin.
having a real connection problem, and I don't know
Well, thank
why.
you, cousin.
Yes.
You're talking, but I'm not quite understanding you. And the camera went through.
Okay. I'm right now. I'm just gonna let you just talk. Just keep talking.
You can't hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And if I somehow lose, then you can just come in and tell me to be here. Thank cousin Reverend Rene'e Ellis. It's just so good to be in this position with you,
Yes.
trying to make this world a better place. I
Mhm.
have prepared in my own tradition words to say that are written, but they are from my heart. And I would like to, if possible, get through that and then answer questions or have whatever conversation is that you would like to have.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I want to do my is first to show it to you that is here. I don't know if it's in sync or not, but it is. I am proud of it. It took years to write. It took a lot for me to write it. The first thing I want to do is just to give you a sense of what this book is about, or why I wrote it. What did I intend this evening is to talk about trauma informed care, trauma informed pastoral care, and the caring
Yes.
role of the entire church when it comes to intimate partner violence. And so, in that, I would be sharing some of my story,
Mm-hmm.
but also celebrating, as you asked me, Black History with a few things that I would like to say about women, women survivors mostly, but not
Mm-hmm.
limited to that. Audience I tend to write to and about. So, what is this book about? It is it is impossible for anyone that will listen and listening, possible to speak about violence without addressing the issues of racism. Black women have always played an is either minimizing the harm or not involved, or they are busy within the church blaming, shaming, demonizing, always playing a role in the struggle against oppression. But when it comes to black men not adequately incorporated into into the struggle for black liberation.
Mm-hmm.
Vigorously as in the civil rights movement and other movements of black liberation theology. He's involved in the struggle for justice.
Mm-hmm.
But our story damaging to black women and is in many spaces across the racial spectrum dangerous for black women who
Mm-hmm.
many are not certain if the church is a safe place to be anymore.
Right.
Across the board, women in general, regardless of their race, ethnicity, gender, and class. The harm is not only religious, racism, and systemic oppression, and the traumatic impact for women survivors of sexual and domestic violence a lifetime. As best memoir of my story that seeks to address these systems, institutions, and individuals dedicate over most of the church life, most of my life to the church, half the police department,
Mm-hmm.
serving the church as criminal judge of all of these entities. It is my ethical, theological, and moral call to begin to talk about them in ways that help
Yeah.
us within these institutions improve the way we the way that we provide care for women and the way that we hear women, we let their voices heard.
Yes.
So this permanent storytelling, it encourages women never to allow their story to be told by anyone
Right.
determined to oppress, harm, or silence their voice. As women victim survivors, we must change the conversation and not allow individuals or institutions to steer us into telling a story that does not represent our experience, fearful of telling and fearful of being heard. And when we do that by owning our own stories, encouraging others to share theirs, then the lion will control the narrative. And I hope you're
Mhm.
continuing to hear me.
Yes.
Okay. And so as we're going, as we're talking about Black, one thing said, continue.
Yes.
So as we talk about Black History Month, I celebrate survivors. That was an intentional decision of
Mhm.
mine to post a post that I posted that tells stories of Black people,
Mhm.
Black people in Part Island, and they have thrived. And so I wanted to highlight that because we look at the inventors, we look at scientists, we look at academics, we look at all of these phases of Black people
Mhm.
who have overcome and studied and persevered. See the other people who have survived, who have survived. So I wanted to highlight two people as I go
Okay.
into uh, 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 to this that I highlighted in Facebook. If anybody hits the link, and that memoir experienced childhood sexual abuse at the age of 7.
Mhm.
That shaped his personality, relationships, and he also stated that it complicated his own
Mhm.
whom I love, who
Mhm.
raised by relatives while her mother was trying to support the family, had very little consistent schooling. Amid that stability,
Mhm.
she was assaulted by a neighbor, ended up
Mhm.
in protective custody for 2 years, which is what happens to a lot of women's children who are
Correct.
abused. They lose their children,
Mhm.
protect their children.
Oh, we look like we lost the connection totally. At this time, we're going to hope that she comes back in, but it's very interesting talk that she's given us. The circumstances around, surrounding, and around um, what happens when abuse starts at such an early age, and the circumstances that continue to overwhelm the person in that circumstances. She's now back here. I'm going to add her back to the stream. Okay, text her and let her know she's
Yes, it
back.
totally threw me out this time.
Yeah,
I'm back.
yes. I highlighted what you were saying, so you can continue.
Well, we're just going to keep going,
Yes.
regardless of, of whatever force is trying to stop the war. So, yeah. So her complexities that are often stem was important to important to talk about this. Thank you for allowing me to go in that direction, Renee.
Yes.
After he took intentional space, of acting the forward, the introduction, and then chapter 1 titled Childhood Sexual Abuse, he
Mhm.
stated this in an email to me. I just finished the first chapter of your book. Mercy. What a
Mm.
be like this. I will comment later on the awfulness writing style, the master everything, the way you offer yourself to others, while
Mhm.
somehow be you to read this. I will
Mhm.
talk about the scholasticism of it. Before now, I just want to sing a hymn to your courage.
Mhm.
Looking forward to reverberate through your whole life. We have to rest up
Mhm.
before reading chapter 2. May God it was really nice to have my friend
Mhm.
say something like that to me because that was the difficulty of writing the chapter 1 of my book.
Yeah.
Because it was not something that I conversated about in violence. The only
Mm.
thing that when I talked about it, this far name, at my age, that brought me to tears. And so I knew that
Yes.
do writing, I knew to talk about it. And so I'm
Mhm.
not surprised that chapter 1 also hit others in powerful ways, even among the best of my friends. Because I
Yeah.
didn't think of that. My outer self was joyful because I believe I had a good childhood,
Mhm.
as normal as anybody else's. I believe I felt joyful. I think I just, we took trips, we did things, we
Mhm.
laughed, we were all close in our family relationships, so we had reunions and had
Yeah.
wonderful times. But
Mhm.
my ache, heartbreak, sadness, anger, I tell the story of trying to go crazy during my growing up years. And this, I think,
Mhm.
and the story of my growing up crazy is that I was feeling all negative, but had no way of expressing that, had no language for it. And I
Right.
remember walking down the street before we had cell phones. I remember
Mhm.
walking down the street and decided that I was going to, okay, I know what I was, and I'll just go crazy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I knew I'm not a suicidal person. I haven't
Yeah.
been. And eventually I did want to go crazy. And so I
Yeah.
was in just started screaming. I'm like, I just started doing all of this. When I came out of my fit, I was just as sane as I had
Mhm.
been when I started. So I could not escape it that way.
Right.
The book represents the negative behavior, the multiple relations, the abuse of my body, mind, and spirit, bad choice, and the most heinous systems who could care less about stories
Mhm.
and as it impacted my life. And
Mhm.
so it took years and years and years and years for me to come to understanding of what was going on with me. And
Yeah.
the one word I could use was the word trauma. I was so
Yeah.
what how much that really applied to who I was, who I had become, that started my trauma. I was let me down and my own crazy route.
Mhm.
At it just didn't work. Just take my life from me. It was a moment in my
Mhm.
my back. I could not get up bed. I had to roll
Mhm.
over and get out of my bed because I was so sore. When I would go to
Mhm.
church, I would sit in my deacon row and rub myself, and people behind me would start massaging. It was just difficult to sit. And so one night I said to the Lord, I says, if I got to be this horrible on the inside and have this pain on the outside, I'm not gonna make myself just
Mhm.
take me. That's okay. And one
Mhm.
part about one interesting part about that part of my life is the next day nothing was hurt. So it made me want to at least keep on going anyhow. Not
Mhm.
going anyhow,
Yeah.
healed in any way, but going my way
Just moving
anyhow,
forward.
just living the
Yeah.
life that I was living.
Yeah.
And so in spite, just moving forward, whatever that might mean on as one of the books I know on any given day. Yes.
Mm. Yeah.
And so the threat of going to hell and the consequences of how my choices brought sadness into others' lives, there was nothing that really could stop me from
Mhm.
in self behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I had learned in church, this big booger man in the
Mm-hmm.
sky, counseling me for all the wrong I had done. And in spite of all of the
Yeah.
abuse, all of the sexual abuse, all of the mistreatment of my body, all of the being taken advantage of, all in spite of
Mm-hmm.
all of that, in spite of all of that, in the wrong that was done to me,
Yeah.
for everything that I'd done. So in the midst of that, I'm like, well, they're telling me not to date the married guy or got kids. I'm like, okay, so married guy, the kids, married guy, the kids. It was always between God punishing me for me doing right. And I always
Yeah.
chose the next. And so the criminal justice system heard my cry.
Mm-hmm.
The police that I was in the horrible relationship with in my book, he was not punished with his Dr. Jekyll and this misogynist
Mm-hmm.
attitude, police vest, to the department. They still would not see anything but that would not see that they would not see personality and church was the loudest, which I
Mm-hmm.
blame everything that I have done. So my attitude even became people do something
Even sweet.
system on the help for me. I am certain, at least that is what I have been led, spoken and unspoken to believe,
Mm-hmm.
until I really discovered how much God had did to me. The threats, it was that motivated me. It was not what God would do to me or a member of my family that
Right.
motivated me. It was
Right.
it was the love of the hearing and the knowing that God loves me. And continuing unto the love lifted me. I think I started in one of my first sermons. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the
Mm-hmm.
peaceful shore of victory, being within, seeking to rise no more. But the Master see, heard my despair and cry. And from the waters he lifted me now safe by. And that's what God really did me to not only be responsible and accountable for my choices, but to
Yeah.
understand whatever state I found myself in, I did not get there by myself.
Yeah.
And though understanding trauma, I became empowered against injustices and the forces and the principalities that sought to destroy me. And I learned to speak truth to power. That's when that's
Yes.
when I decided to be healthy. Yet in the midst of it, I was still living in a trauma infused state.
Trauma infused. Mm-hmm.
And so, one of the first things that I wanted to say about trauma that I teach in my seminary, I teach Rene'e, but I see us again, so we must
Mm-hmm.
be back and good. And so, one of the things I wanted to imagine
Mm-hmm.
that you understand what I'm talking about is to imagine a
Yeah.
tree. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have the picture with me, but to imagine a big old tree that has
Mm-hmm.
four components. It has the left component, and it has the right component, and then it has the long bark, the roots. They have all of these branches or whatever you call them, the roots in the inside
Right.
the. Now, best I
Mm-hmm.
understand trauma
Yeah.
and at the roots. You see all of those things that we have gone through in life. You know, child abuse, sex abuse, masochism, sexism,
Mm-hmm.
we had in our lives. And so that was on the left side. And so then on the left side at the top, it was of that mental illness,
Mental.
depression, just all of those things
Mm-hmm.
on that particular tree to help us
Mm-hmm.
to understand it. Many people in the mental health will understand the ACEs model that talks
Mm-hmm.
about childhood uh, 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 affected childhood experience. How they 10 questions, and in those questions you answer yes and no, and when you finish, the higher your score is, the worse your having different on life even as a child. And one of
Mm-hmm.
them that I wanted to speak to, because there's so many, it talks about us not being able to make good decisions. It talks
Yeah.
about the way that your brain is the and it talks about that's where we store
Mm-hmm.
our brain changes, and that's where we store all of our emotions. That's where that comes through, because that little bitty piece, all that mess, all
Yeah.
that mess, and if we don't have
Lady
the
night.
abilities
Yeah.
to navigate that, then we cannot deal with the emotions in the way that we really need to. Right? It's just really doing to us. So that's what that's the very short. Those that do not know about the ACEs study, just go and look at and disease. I've had 2
Mm-hmm.
bouts with cancer. I'm a diabetic. I've had a kidney transplant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's including all the things that I have done to destroy my own self, because while I'm hurting others,
Mm-hmm.
about that needs to be told in terms of what this does, formulates and
Yeah.
changes and brain, and we don't act in ways that we would like to, because I'm a fight or flight, and I'm certainly a fighter.
Yeah.
It's my fighting, and the
Mm-hmm.
second phase in abusive relationships, or
Yeah.
in the childhood sexual abuse, was free. We trying to help others to help others to understand what they did wrong,
Yeah.
what they shouldn't do, all these things that could have caused harm, and nothing
Mm-hmm.
harm that was done to you.
Yeah.
And that's the blame, not you're the blame, but that's,
That's the blame.
even though you know what you're doing, and nothing is like accountability. I take
Mm-hmm.
accountability for anything I've done.
Yeah. Me too.
But systems haven't taken accountability. The church has
Mm-mm.
not taken accountability. The church
Mm-mm.
has not done to harm women. The police department, the courts, and all of the systems that are out there, no accountability on their part. They may talk sympathetic, but no
Yeah.
accountability, no real, just what requires
No accountability.
contrition and what requires us to turn. That's basically what I wanted to talk about. In the midst of this is the kind of trauma informed care that a lot of the stuff that we as mental professionals are having to deal with are because we haven't dealt with it
Mm-hmm.
on the caring level. We haven't dealt with it on trying to
Okay.
prevent some of these things. Although, ACEs says there are ways to heal, but we haven't done what we need to do.
To
And
prevent.
church has been the first come to that. If we're not getting this, we can. So now you know how old I am. Give
Mm-hmm.
me a call. Give me a
Mm-hmm.
call, and I have something that'll help your problems out. Something that'll help
Mm-hmm.
you out. And so I don't want to get caught up in that. But I'm a preacher's child, and I've been in church all my life. I preach do. But in the meantime, they're telling you that if you're not living on the straight and narrow, when almost
Mm-hmm.
every other baby in the church looks like them, and,
Yeah.
and that's just my ranting. I kept seeing rant up there, so I had to
That's
say that.
what it is,
It wasn't
rant.
on my paper to say. But the things that just make you angry, that you're trying to live a
Yeah.
life that they're not even living.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
it.
they're
That's
blaming
it.
you for it. Are you trying to say
Yeah. You being real.
are you trying to say something? Yeah. And so trauma-informed care, when we
Mm-hmm.
think it can last a lifetime, what it does to you and how you get better, things get better, you have healing, you
Mm-hmm.
on and on and on and on and on. And I'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Our mental health, our
Okay.
relationships, our relationships, our community, and our spirituality.
Oh, look like we lost her again. The enemy just do not want this important subject to come through. We've having all kind of technical difficulties that we during this mental health podcast that we have never experienced before in the what 2.5 years, 3 years that we've been broadcasting. But just hang in there with us. We don't know where the connection is, on what end it is having problems in, but just hang in there with us, and we shall continue. She's back again because this is just awesome. There you go.
So then, so and then research, it just tells me to come back on, and I just give me a minute. I'll just press it and come back
Yeah.
on. But what happens in this found, I read something, because we are unique. We are unique
Yes.
people. We have gone through in this world probably more than many cultures, and it has not been recognized in research. We are not
Mm-hmm.
invited to research. We're not worthy of being researched. Our bodies are worthy of
Mm-hmm.
being away. So now someone to study to see the ways in which we,
It's the fact. Yeah.
need to have, we need to help us heal. And so
Mm-hmm.
trauma informed care, I say pastoral care because ministry of the church, ministry of care is not the pastor. Pastoral care
Mm-hmm.
is ministry of the entire, put all by themselves, and now they got to
The
go to
entire.
the
Mm-hmm.
referral route. But
Mm-hmm.
while we're there doing this, and when I talk about pastoral role, when you're in crises, women come to the church, and men also in whatever crisis, they're losing a child the
Mm-hmm.
street, eating Skittles, all the kind of
Mm-hmm.
things that happens in the midst of our lives never gets
Right.
talked about or researched. So when they come to the pastor, they're looking for, why is this happening to me? Why?
Mm-hmm.
But crises ministry teaches us that the first time pastors why, we should say nothing hospital in shock and trauma. Ask them their problems. They're
Mm-hmm.
a little bit better, but they're still not looking for answers. They're just looking for comfort and care. But
Constant. Yeah.
time after they have lived a little, breathed a little while, then they're saying, why did this happen? That's time for us to have the conversation with her.
Yeah.
And in saying that, everything that's saying does not, every prayer don't have to be prayed,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we haven't asked them what do they want prayer for.
Right.
If they asking for forgiveness, have they done things that for, to prayer? Because sometimes we have to
Mm-hmm.
be clear with people that they will not respond abuse, that no one has a hand a right to lay hands on them. So we have theological clarity and just ethical clarity to women, and just not go start praying out of the clear sky on what we're praying about. And so
What
part
we
of
pray.
that
Yeah.
is trauma informed pastoral care is just simply, in a nutshell, all the specialized, understanding that the violence is
Mm-hmm.
there, but a
Okay.
whole lot of other things are too.
All right. In there
A
too.
whole lot
Yeah.
of life experience are there too. A whole lot of things have gone on with us. And so a trauma informed is understanding that when you're with trauma victim, let them tell their story. Provide
Mm-hmm.
safe space for them to tell their story. Sometimes there's no place
Yes.
for them to get out without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
The the I've had friends of mine to tell me that if they didn't know me, that
Mm-hmm.
they would have and they get saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost,
Mm-hmm.
speaking in 15 languages and kill everybody.
Yeah.
Because we are so stuck on what we're doing in ministry that we're not
Right.
understanding the issues. We have to have empathetic presence. That means we have to listen to people
Yes.
from what they're saying and not from what we're thinking and not what we want to say about them.
Right.
Many
Right.
times we want to just, find out who they are, fact that they
Mm-hmm.
even left something. Quit asking them why didn't they leave. A person walking down the street anywhere that gets hit out, but many times people are asking church and on the street and in community, and finding a way to blame us.
Yeah.
She went to the
Mm-hmm.
hotel with Mike Tyson. She should have arrested him.
Yeah. The
It's
judgment.
not sexual crime. It's of law agency. Crime is people trying to hurt you, people trying to empower you. It's all
Yes.
consistently looking for the judgment of the
Mm-hmm.
person that's. And so we have to stop that hierarchical
Yes.
and it's not talking about the men, the women do it too. We have
Yeah.
to stop that behavior. Listen, hear what people are saying, believe them, you
Mm-hmm.
find out they're not telling the truth. Pastoral care, that's pastoral informed
Mm-hmm.
care. Know that the iceberg, you've heard iceberg,
Mm-hmm.
where the iceberg, part of the iceberg is sticking out, but most of it
Yes.
is under the water.
It's underneath.
They're only
Yeah.
telling
Mm-hmm.
you a tip of the story of what sometimes tell me your story. I know you did
Right.
story. And so we begin to understand trauma. We begin to understand that when we feel threatened, we act ugly.
Mm-hmm.
I love Desmond, as I can never pronounce his name. With the book that talks about, he says it's in the body. He's a black man,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I can love the body keeps score. Also, this man
Yes.
and I can't call his entire name. He talks about that in his book. He talks about all that we go through, and so we have to do a trauma informed care and understand that it's not
Right.
about it's no one size fit all in this book. Just coming out last year,
Right.
taking about 2 years to write it. I honestly believe that I could not have
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't have what I really needed to have unless I told it like it was, unless I quit trying to, long before
Mm-hmm.
COVID, wear that mask we wore. It was
Yeah.
always a mask of
Yeah.
joy. I never walked around looking like I had lost my best friend or anything. I knew how to have fun. I knew how to do that. I knew how to pretend too. And I knew how to hate.
Right. Right.
So all of those things, unless you have therapy, unless you are getting the kind of help you need, you are really not freeing your.
Mm-hmm.
That's what trauma informed care us to do for ourselves, and that's free
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. That's
Right.
why I love "Give Us This Day" the song, because it
Yeah.
says what I want to do so they can be free like me.
Like me.
So that we
Yeah.
can have the kind of life and live it abundantly. Billie Holiday became a famous jazz singer. We thrive,
Yeah.
with courage and talent and resilience, although she died way too early.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Blow
Yeah.
about racism, and he was one of the people that kind of trailblazed,
Mm-hmm.
and determination. It
Yeah.
provides hope rather than despair. He states, "If my heart was broken, rose back stronger." That's what Charles said.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. And God has truly blessed me in so many areas. Now, grateful I am.
Yes.
I thank and I'm better. You know, we are
Hmm.
changed. We don't remember. And so if we in the church,
Yeah.
trauma changes your continent, trauma changes your brain, trauma changes who you are. But
Yeah.
we also become here the most. Yes,
For real.
that's the artwork that you've been through and the
Yeah.
beautiful mosaic you have become in the
Yeah.
midst of that. And so we may not
In
be
the
the
midst.
same, but we will have greatness. We will grow into something as beautiful as that. That's
Yes.
something beautiful and good. All my confusion, God understood. All for God was
Yes.
broken in strife. God made something beautiful of my
Yes.
life. Anyone
Yes.
who knows me well, because part of my healing today, I was 70 and I joined a 40 double Dutch club. And I've been doing it for a year, you know, jump on having fun,
I
having
love you,
social
Dutch.
connections, having sisters
Yeah.
around me that I know genuinely care.
Genuinely care.
All healing come more than conquer. And so anyone who knows me, and I know this was fast, but I couldn't tell it all. I love to sing and help to. So I can't end without telling you my two favorite songs. And everybody, if you got a karaoke, that's my song I'm going to sing. And so many to think that I could do without you by my side, made me I grew strong. And I learned how to get along. And
Yeah.
I love that song.
Hmm. Oh my goodness. Just as she was getting into this song and inspiring us, we lost connection. Come back. Let me tell her, come see if she come back. Yes, just as we was getting into the rounding out to the end, there she is. She's back. Yes, you was just
Weren't you
getting
the
us
one who
to.
tried to hurt me with my eyes? Did you think I laid down on my eyes? I know how to love. I know I stay alive. I got all my life to live, all my love to give, and survive.
Yes.
And my sacred song is, I don't feel no ways tired.
Mm,
Come too far from where I started from.
mm,
That the road would be easy.
yes.
Lord shall renew their strength. They
So
shall
mount up.
run and not be weary. They
Yes.
shall walk and
Not faint.
me to and how it impacts our total lives. And I know it was fast, I know it was quick, but I wanted to give you what I wanted to give Rene'e what she wanted for this moment. I love you, cuz. I thank God for you. God for your thrive. God for you climbing the mountain when you wanted strength just to go around it. I thank God. And Lord, we don't have to tell it. We don't have to if we don't want to, because it is healing and it makes it like fire shut up in our bones.
Shut up in our bones. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I just wanted to say that I have been so empowered and inspired by you and your journey. With watching what the Lord has done in your life during all odds, and I was one of the least likely to of the cousins, and went through a lot, and we put on that face, and we know how to act and how to pretend, but it's nothing like the freedom of living, living in your space and living in your truth, the empowerment of living in your truth, and I know you were saying what lifted you, and mine was always John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So no matter what I went through or was going through, the domestic violence started at a young age of 16,
Yeah.
and putting in those circumstances. And like you, I wrote it, and after going to therapy, I wrote about my life, and put it on the shelf for 20 years until the Lord told me it's time to, release it because it would help someone. And I, um, it was a lot, but it was therapeutic for me to get it out of my head space, to get it out of my body, to tell my truth, whether anybody agree with it or not. I know I felt delivered, because I spoke my truth, and it gave me that freedom and that empowerment to uh, and knew it would help other people. It gave me understanding of what others
Yes.
could be going through, and it gave me that power to listen because I'd never had anybody to just, all I want is just listen to me, you know. You didn't have to solve it, but I needed to be heard. I need to be seen, and I'm just delighted that you were able to come on, even though we've had technical difficulties. I am not. I know we will do this again. We figure out what these technical difficulties are. Because your all that you have given us on today has been so empowering, so uplifting, and so enlightening. That everyone needs to hear this. Our podcasts are up on YouTube, REVELLIS 50, and on Spreaker and iHeart and Drizzle, all the podcast platforms for infinity. They will be up there for people for now on to glean from the information and the knowledge, because we never know who's going through at any given time, but we know that these podcasts, and these streams will be out there and available to all those that might need it at that time when they can't get to another person. By faith, we believe in that these words will go out and will empower them, will inspire them in their times of need. So I just thank you for just coming on here, even through all these difficult technical difficulties, and sharing, your personal sharing and your enlightenment. I studied informed care several years ago. I did a workshop, relationship over right, and that's when I was indoctrinated to informed care, you know. But I just thank you, and I know we have about 10 minutes, not quite 10 minutes, but I want to know if you have any closing remarks, that you want to share with us, some inspire us, empower us with your closing remarks at this time. I know if, I lost her again, but it's Reverend Dr. Sharon Ellis-Davis. And the name of her book is The Trauma of Sexual and Domestic Violence. She's back. Here she is. She's back on here. Let me add her in. And it's talking about navigating her way through individuals, religion, policing, and the courts. And it's very unique. Her book is very unique because with her being in the police department, and the travels that she's had within the church, even being a pastor, that she has a lot of personal information and understanding that can empower you. That's why she's teaching in these different places, because this is what is need to be heard. To be real, it's time out for lying. Life is not easy here in this 21st century that we're living in. And without, it says, when depression and every thought and every breath and every conscious moment's hurt, Christian faith has a word of hope, especially for those who are suffering mentally. So we have to remind people that even in the midst of, we know we need doctors and we know we need therapists, but it must remind us also of the hope that we have in Christ for now, even and to the future. And we have to address that and we have to acknowledge it. And we have to empower and inspire people to move forth in that space that they're in, truth to power. And stop being judgmental, people. Listen. Sometimes all it takes is a listening ear. So, Reverend Sharon, I'm good. We're 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes. You want to close us out? Real anointed, needed talk. Be real. Stop lying. It ain't easy. I'm typing to her so she'll know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if she can hear us or is it talking to close us out, but I just want
I
y'all to
can
know that we're
hear
so.
bits. I can hear bits and pieces of what you're saying, but not all the words.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, we're gonna have to figure. I don't know which end the connection. They keep telling us that the connection on this end is working. So I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna figure it out. We know the enemy's busy. We know one thing we know is this is important. That's what we know for sure. So I don't know if she can hear us or we've lost her or not. But
Yeah.
we're gonna go on and close the podcast right now. And we know that you have been empowered during this mental health podcast that we have had for the month of February and in July, and we will be having other series coming on about relationships in the month of February. So I'm Reverend Rene'e Ellis, real anointed needed talk. Be real, stop lying. It ain't easy. Truth to power. Talk to you later. Bye.